Hello and welcome back for part 8 of the Chimera build, which is going to start off with some fretwork. In particular, first thing is I'm going to be rounding over the fret ends. I'm spending a little bit more time doing this than I would normally just because the stainless steel frets, they were a fair bit harder to file down. And here further rounding over the fret ends with some sandpaper. Sandpaper didn't work very well on stainless steel frets. It seems like all of the bite of the sandpaper comes off really quickly and then it just stops doing anything. Now just using the notched straight edge to make sure that the fretboard itself is straight, which it was. And then I begin marking the tops of the frets so that I can start leveling them. And going in with the fret rocker, just seeing if there are any high spots or any low spots in the frets. I had originally started doing this with a leveling beam with sandpaper on it, but like I mentioned earlier, all of the bite comes off of the sandpaper so quickly I ended up using some masking tape and super glue to stick this file to a piece of wood so that I could file the frets down that way. So at this point, with all the frets leveled, I'm going to begin taping off the fretboard so that I can move on to crowning. So you're just working down the sides of the fret until there's just a thin line of that Sharpie mark left in the middle of the fret. Once all of them are crowned, going in with some sandpaper again just to slightly round over the tops. And you're coming in, this is some 320 grit sandpaper. And I'm starting there to start removing the marks left by the crowning file. And I'll work up through 400, 600 grit, and then move on to some fret rubbers. Just using the same fret rubbers, going over the ends to round them over a little bit more and to polish them up. And with that done, I can remove the tape. So at this point, I thought, I've got this little piece of quilted maple that I cut out from the front of the headstock, which I could use for the trussrod cover, but it's awfully thin, and it doesn't fit quite perfectly because of the way it was cut out. So I thought I would try making a new trussrod cover out of some of the leftover Wenge. And just got some 80 grit sandpaper on a leveling beam that I'm using to just clean up the edges of this trussrod cover. Just doing a little bit of fine sanding on it. Got a good fit, so I just need to drill for the screw to attach it. And I'm just going to countersink. Then after all of this work, I go to put in the screw, and as soon as I tighten it down, the whole piece of Wenge snapped in half. So I made a new one entirely out of quilted maple. So once I have that in place, my next step is going to be drilling for the tuners. So just starting with an awl and marking out where to drill. Making sure to drill very carefully so that I don't get any tear out on the front or the back. So now I need to make some room up at the top here so that the nut can fit, which means I'm going to need to remove a little bit of this front plate from the headstock as well as a little bit of the truss rod cover. Just mark that out and cut it away. And that is going to do it for part 8 of the Chimera build. Yes, so thank you everybody for watching, and hope to see you around for the next one.